What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update regularly, hit the like button. Let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, this is episode 364, which if you divide that by 52, you'll come up with that this is the 7th year of the Scale News Update. Now at the beginning, I wasn't quite as consistent, so it's actually been going on for a little bit longer than 7 years, but wild to think that there's that many episodes of this show. And for as long as it takes to do it, a lot of hours been put into this thing. But thinking of how the market and the climate has changed since I started this until now, wild, wild to see. So anyway, just one of those milestones, whatever as you pass by, just kind of crazy to acknowledge it. And yeah, just thinking back of the very first episode when I was filming in a very loud conference room next to a bunch of very loud machines until today. Who'd have guessed it? But anyway, let's jump into the actual RC content for this week. First of all was Delta Plastics releasing a Mercedes CLR body for the 1/7 scale ARMA infraction platforms. Now, many of you know that I really like those 1/7 scale platforms. I've got a handful of them and I really enjoy them myself. And I always like when the bodies come out that have a bit of like a scale realism and the performance side is great as well. This one looks like it probably blends that performance and scale a little bit better than most have up to this point. Delta Plastics isn't always huge on the scale side. A lot of times they're, more the performance side. They're also not necessarily huge on their product photography, but it looks like they've stepped that up as well. And this thing, it just looks great. The CLR bodies going way back for me, like growing up, used to see them a lot. It feels like a little bit of nostalgia at that side. I think that this looks great. If you've got one of those 7 scales and you're looking for a refresh and you also want a little bit of that performance side, this looks like a pretty decent option, worth checking out. I'll put a link down below to the Delta Plastic website where you can go see if that has got something to interest you. Also on the speed side of things, Rlaarlo is running a $5,000 speed challenge. Now, it's not $5,000 to the fastest person. It's 2 classes and the top 10 in each class are getting a payout. Now there is $1,000 on the line for the top of the most, the top tier class, the modified class or unlimited, whatever they're calling it. You are required to run one of their 2 platforms in this, and there is a registration period that ends on June 10th. So if it is something that sounds like you might want to get into, go check out the rules for registration to make sure that you get in there by then. And then the competition will go from June 11th to July 11th. So all of the stipulations with how you have to shoot the video, what you have to use to cover it, the whole thing, all of that are also in the website listing. So go check that out if you have a fascination for speed and you've maybe already got one of those or you think you could get one in time to get registration in. Maybe it's worth checking out. Thanks to YouMagine for sponsoring this month of the Scale News Update. YouMagine is a website where you can go and find 3D printable RC specific projects, everything from nearly fully 3D printed RC cars to just beautiful add-on body sets or small details, tools, stands, all kinds of things that you can find, again, that are RC specific only. So you're not weeding through a bunch of other random stuff. It's just for us, which is great. They also have a great navigation, so you can go, maybe you don't know what your next project is going to be and you just want to maybe go check out what inspiration they have. Definitely worth that. Over the last few weeks, we've highlighted a handful of designers. Last week, we looked at a project from RC DIY, RC Must DIY. There's been some updates to that in a few areas, as well as some additional options that have been added to it as well. So if that was a project that interested you, maybe worth going looking again, seeing if you like some of these other changes that have been made. And then there's a new one this week that is this 6x6 doomsday looking project, which is very cool. Some of the designers on this site are insanely talented and what they're offering for the money is fantastic. But if you want to save a little bit of money, there's a discount code that you can use as well, and I'll put that down below. So maybe one of those projects is next on your hit list. Use the code, save yourself a little bit of cash while you're at it. And thanks again to YouMagine for sponsoring this month of the Scale News Update. Next, a while back, we covered the Hardpark MOA axles for the 124 scale. Well, they've recently released the straight axle adapters for that as well. So if you want to take and convert the rear axle to a drag axle rather than a steering, then you can pick these up for a little over 20 bucks. And also, if you really like those MOA axles, they are back in stock as of the time of this filming. So if you've been on the hunt for them, now's the time to go dive on it. And while you're diving on that, you can dive into channel membership while you're at it. Segue. Channel membership helps support the channel a little bit extra. You get extra videos like After News Delight, which is an extension of this show. Then you get other member videos. You also get like pre-streams before Friday Night Lives, a number of things like that. If you're interested, there's a link down in the description below with all of that information. Thanks to all of you who watch regardless though. Next, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, every Wednesday, come listen to Matt and I talk about our recent goings on in the RC world and otherwise. Currently, both of us are getting prepped for We RC Rock Nationals, which is going to be in Cedar City, Utah in the second half of June. Both excited to get our buggies out on the rocks again and love Utah. Hoping to see some of you guys out there, but otherwise I hope to see you on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you work for an RC company and like to see any of your products on the Scale News Update, you can send me an email to news@harleydesigns.com. Include a link to your website where the product can be found or will be found, photos, and a description to it. We'll see if we can get it here on the Scale News. This week we had some new ones from Dlux Fab. First of all, they've got a new Beadlock version of their 2.2 loaded dice wheels. The loaded dice wheels have been a popular option for the comp side for quite some time, but they were typically a glue-on type design, which was to keep weight down and things like that. But glue-on is obviously much more of a hassle. So now they have a Beadlock setup. This is obviously a little bit different than a traditional Beadlock wheel, but it does offer some benefits to you. It's got a very low offset, so it sucks everything way in, and it's made for the loaded dice wheel hangers, which add a weight that sits down very low and attaches to Dlux knuckles, which is all made to help lower your center of gravity. So these new weight hangers are specifically made to work with these Beadlocks, so you don't have to remove them to take the wheel off like you would have had to with the previous setup. So you can go check out both of those new products listed on the Dlux website where there's links down below. Now I'm currently filming this on Monday, which is Memorial Day. Now Memorial Day and leading up to a holiday in general is usually slow for RC news, so you don't see a ton of huge releases or things like that. But while I'm filming this, I was just kind of going back and looking at what some of the sales were. Now most of these will be over by the time this video goes up, so it's not going to be something that necessarily applies, but it was interesting things to look at here and there. Well, a lot of companies just had the, 10% off here, 20% off there, things like that on the websites, maybe specific items being a little bit more or less. There was some that were fairly interesting or notable at least. Horizon had a couple that were definitely ones that kind of, step back for a second. They had the SCX Pro on sale, which normally is $479. They had it $250 off, so it was at $219 for that vehicle, which is a lot off, over 50% off on the SCX Pro, which you have to wonder then if that vehicle, like a sale like that is odd. You don't obviously see that very often. Otherwise people would just wait for a sale like that all the time. Makes you wonder if that project will be around for that much longer if they're trying to move them at that level of discount. Crazy. The other one that they had on sale was the UTB18 Capra for $130 off, making it $149. Now the UTB18 was a little bit of a weird one. It's listed as 18th scale, which makes you think it should be 18th scale price typically, which it definitely isn't when you look at the others, but that's because it also is much larger than typical 1/18 scales. So it kind of puts it in that weird space. So you wonder, now this is the older version though, because the new version came out as a 4-wheel steer. So that is worth noting that this one that is for sale was the previous orange and green options rather than the newer, like the Mickey and the King version that they have now. So when you see sales like that, you wonder, like this is an older version of it. So this one going away may not be out of the picture. So maybe you'll see prices like that more often again. So if you've been thinking about picking one of those up and you missed the sale currently, maybe that'll come back around. The other one that I saw was from RC Four-Wheel Drive, and they were doing buy one, get one on the TF24 or the TF224. That one we've seen on sale like that many times. Obviously, that the TF24 just never, it was, when it came out, it was already kind of a little bit, it wasn't right for the market. It was behind. It didn't have the power or the level of things, didn't match the option parts that were available on the market already. So we've seen like the buy one, get ones or the wildly discounted prices on that many times, which, you know, kind of makes sense when you look back at some of the other things. But I didn't have a ton of time to look at all of the sales that happened for this weekend. So for this week's question, I want to just post it up to you guys to see if you guys saw any other wild sales or if you took advantage of any of the sales for this weekend. It'd be interesting to see what you guys were shopping for or what I missed. Was there anything wild out there that was just a shocking deal? Love to know. But with that, if you're in the US, I hope you had a peaceful Memorial Day weekend. Maybe sat back, reflect a little bit on what Memorial Day was all about as well. But that's going to do it for this week. It's going to do it for the 7th year anniversary of the Scale News at the same time. As always, I appreciate all of you for watching the Scale News every Tuesday. If you enjoy it, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, hit the notification bell, channel membership, the whole thing. But again, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.